Hey guys, this is Locke. This is going to be my in-depth Gloria review, and I'm actually going to be talking about all the different skills that you can get because I've unlocked basically almost every single skill of Gloria. I really wanted to start with this counterattack mode because I don't see a lot of people talking about it because it's not really recommended. But on paper, I thought it looks kind of interesting, so I wanted to see, um, you know, how it functions, how it works, if it's okay or not. And I wanted to start with an example. So here, let's take a look at this. We're going to show you the difference with and without counterattack mode. So right now, this is all the buffs on Gloria. She already has the flag down. I'm going to let her get hit by this one enemy without counterattack mode, and then next time with counterattack mode. So we're just going to stand there and note the damage that she's going to take from this enemy. So she's getting hit for 2,159 damage without counterattack mode. If you look at her defense right now, it is actually 1,167. Okay, so almost 1,200 defense, and she's taking 2,100 damage. Okay, so keep that in mind, and we're going to do this again. And this time we're going to use counterattack mode, and we're going to check what the difference is. Okay, so let's see. So that's, to me, it's a really weird. She only takes about 100 damage less. But if you look at her defense went from almost 1,200 to almost 1,800. So I have no idea why she's taking, you know, only 100 damage less. But obviously, as you can see, that makes this mode not very worthwhile. The enemy, as far as I can tell, the enemy is using this uh, burning bridge skill. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't even show it. I'm pretty sure the enemy is using the burning bridge skill. That's the reason why his attack is up, as you can see. Oh yeah, because there's no cooldown. It's only it only uses energy. So yeah, so he uses uh, the burning bridge skill, so it increases his attack by 40%. Um, yeah, and then he has other things that increases attack. But anyway, I mean, overall, like, you're gonna have a lot of buffs on Gloria when you're playing. Enemies, at a higher stage are going to be taking, they're going to have very high stats. So this, I think, is a typical scenario where you would want her to be more tanky. And unfortunately, this skill only adds 100 more. Like, it only reduces 100 damage against high level enemies. So it's not. Unfortunately, it's not very good. Um, Furthermore, there are unfortunately a lot of negatives about this skill. um, if you pair it with this reaction, you are well. Okay, this is one positive thing. If you pair it with this reaction, right, the counterattack reaction, she gets to attack twice. I mean, if you just saw, she attacked with preempt before the enemy attacked, and then she attacked again with the counterattack skill. So that's good because you can get, two attacks and you take one damage. Uh, so it might be a way to be able to um, get extra attacks off as long as you survive. Uh, so I mean, I guess that's one potential use. The unfortunate thing is that both of these, like both the counterattack mode skill, the preempt and the counterattack, they only work once. So like, I'm gonna do another run here, and you'll see that she's only going to react that way to one of these. For the second one, she's not going to attack. So that's too bad. But you can see here. So she does the same. So she attacks, and then now she does the second attack. Now this guy, I mean, he kills her, but you can notice that she didn't even get the preempt off. Both of these only work one time, and you can also pair with this skill. Oh, I don't have enough TP for it. But if you pair it with this skill, right? Um, so what happens if you use the skill? I mean, she gets an enhanced strike back. This enhanced strike back does not uh, stack with the counterattack. So you only get one or the other. So when she does that enhanced strike back, so basically what will happen if she was able to use this, when the enemy attacks, actually let's go all the way back to start like this. Um, and you can see. So I'm going to use this. Her stats are going to be a little lower because I don't have time to get the flag off. And then I'm going to use this on her. So you will notice that like she'll be able to get the enhanced strike off, but she's not going to be able to do her regular counterattack. Okay, so she's still only going to do. Why is that guy not attacking? So did you see that, like that thing that fell on the enemy? So that's the enhanced strike back. So basically, she's not able to do all three. She can do two, right? The enhanced strike back does not stack with her regular counterattack. So I mean, overall, this is very disappointing. I thought there would have been some really interesting plays if I can get this thing to stack with her counterattack, to stack with preempt. So that would be like 3 attacks in one turn. But unfortunately, overall, this was a bust. I did not like the limitations of the skill, and also the extra defense that you get from the skill is very lackluster, as you just saw. So I thought I would just start with that because I think it's better to talk about it with, like, some actual experience than just because on paper it actually I thought it looked really good, but in practice and in high level content where the enemies are doing a lot of damage, it basically amounts to nothing, right? So let's look at your skill tree and let's talk about it because as you can see, I've unlocked basically everything except for this basic attack, which I don't think I'll ever unlock. So let's start with the rank 1 skills. So the nice thing, in my opinion, about the rank 1 skills is that even if you pick the bad skill, it's kind of okay because you will not really be using that. She has so many other skills that are so much better that it's going to be not often that you use the rank 1 skills anyway. So if you pick the wrong one, you don't have to waste Castilia on it. But from the two, I think the Solemnity is the better one. And the reason it's better is that there will be some content where the enemies are doing so much damage. So being able to reduce the attack by 10% is just, it's good. So that's the reason why I would pick it over this one. If you're trying to make her be as tanky as possible, then maybe it might even be better to use both of these so that, she'll get extra 20% defense from the Knightly Spirit as long as she's facing the enemy. And she's also able to decrease the enemy's attack by 10% as well. The problem with using her as a tank is that she has no way to cover your allies. So if you have like 3 of your allies and the enemy is in range of all 3, it can attack whoever it wants to, right? Usually it picks the squishiest one. Unlike other tanks like, Matilia, is that her name? What is her name? Um, Maita. Unlike Maita, who has this ability to guard, where is the guard? This one. She can guard your allies so that if they attack your allies, she'll just guard and protect your ally. That's so much better. That's like, a cover skill that I think is a lot more useful, right, for tanks. So she doesn't have that. So although you can kind of build her up to be, in a very defensive mode, especially with these skills, and then I guess a little bit more from the counterattack mode if you really want to go that way. She's not able to protect your teammates, so that's unfortunately a limitation. So, but anyway, of the two, I still find that Solemnity is the better one, the one that is able to have more niche cases. Most of the time, we will not be using both of them, I don't think. From the rank 3, now this, I think if you're serious about playing Gloria, is actually worth it to spend 1 Castilia on this. Is it called a Castilia, by the way? Um, yeah, Castilia. Okay. So, of the rank 3 skills, I think this is actually one of the cases where it's worth it to get both of them. If you are stuck with Castilia and you don't want to spend it, I recommend getting the Lance of Longius, this skill. The reason this is better, if you're only getting one, is because this is the skill that allows her to switch from lance to sword and then back to lance. And that gives you a whole lot of other skills, right? Like even her basic skill that you start with, which is this one goes from a 120% attack from range 3. It changes it to Sword Gale, which can go up to 170% attack if you move 5 times before attacking the enemy. Right? It's very it's good. It has like different uses, right? Depending on what kind of enemy you're attacking and if they're farther away or whatever it is, it actually helps her to change modes. So I very highly recommend this lance skill of the two. But I also find the other skill, this one, to be quite useful as well. This one provides damage reduction too, which decreases the damage you take by 20% flat out. So this is a lot better than, like increasing defense by 20%. That's not the same as damage decrease. Damage decrease is just an overall flat reduction. The damage decrease can go all the way up to 50%. That's what I've heard a lot of people say and tested a lot of people say. I haven't tested it myself, but I'm taking their word for it. So this skill is quite good, and it also increases attack by 10% as well, and it's a pretty big range, so you can usually get your entire party in there. It changes to an AoE skill. It changes to an AoE skill after, in the sword mode, right? It changes to sword full moon. It does 90% AoE damage within 2 tiles, which has its uses. I've actually used it quite a bit. So I highly recommend, if you're serious about playing Gloria, to get both of these skills, because I think you'll be using both of them quite often with her. But if you are strapped and you can only take one skill, this lance is the skill that I would recommend. Now, when we go to the rank 5 reaction, I recommend this one, the front defense, because, well, first of all, it decreases damage by 30%, which is huge, right? Because of some other things that I will talk about, it's quite likely that Gloria will have your highest defense number in your team unless you're building a very, very dedicated tank. So there are cases when the enemy will target the highest like defense. It's in one of the weaponry trials, right? And so she is taking that hit. If you have this skill, that's going to decrease the damage that she takes by 30%. The strike back skill is not very useful. It only attacks once per turn. I thought it might have been useful to pair with this, but unfortunately, I mean, it's only once a turn anyway, and as you notice, like, this is very lackluster. So this skill also is not that great. It might be okay to get a little bit of extra damage in, but it's not as good as this one. This one is a lot better. The only thing you have to be careful about is that it only decreases the damage when you're taking it from the front. So you have to make sure that you're able to position her, especially, in these boss fights, that she's always facing the boss so that she is able to take 30% less damage. For the rank 7, I mean, I just told you how, lackluster this skill is. So you're left with this one, and this one is actually a really good skill anyway. So there are a lot of union members, and a lot of these union members are really good. I mean, even if they're not the legendary, but they're the gold, they're still very good. Gold rarity. And it's a very good skill anyway. Like, this is a good leader buff. It gives all union members 20% defense and 10% attack. And then when you're performing an active attack, it increases the damage by 12%. There are a lot of enemies that attack back when you attack them. So when you're struck back, that damage is decreased by 24%. So if you pair that with this one, when you're getting hit back, the damage that you take is basically reduced by 44%, right? So it's a really good buff. And of the rank 7, this is the one I obviously recommend. When we go to the rank 9, this one, the Lance of Justice, is a really interesting skill. First of all, it is an AoE skill that does 70% damage to everyone in this kind of bubble. This is really good for like stages where there are barrels behind enemies and stuff, so you can easily attack them, and like, clusters of enemies and so on. But I really like the Sword of Justice skill as well, because the modifier on that is really high for a basic attack. So this rank 9, if you didn't know, is just your basic attack skills. And the Sword of Justice, I mean, if you're doing a normal attack, it's just 100%. But if you are facing the enemy is facing you, then you actually do 130% damage with your basic attack. In a lot of boss fights, I mean, the bosses are facing you and you're always, facing the boss. So you're actually doing 130% attack with a normal basic attack in the sword mode. So I think that's really powerful, right? This silencing attack, I mean, this could be useful for things like PvP, maybe, but it's not, in my opinion, that useful for boss fights, because boss fights are usually immune to these minus active skills and heavy disabling things. So it's not, first of all, it's not really useful for boss fights, and I feel like at this point in the game, I'm more looking at things to fight bosses, because those are the guys that are really difficult to take down. Like even in the tower, right? The boss fights, the final stage of the boss, they're really difficult to take down, and they usually have some kind of protection on them that I can't cast, silencing attack or other disabling things. So this has limited use in my opinion, unless you're really really into PvP. In PvP, it could have its uses. But this one I think is a no-brainer. I think this is really good, especially for just a regular basic attack. Even if you build her in a very defensive kind of way, which I talked about, if you take both of these skills, maybe if you take flag as well, because throwing the flag is also increasing your defense by 40%. And then you have this basic attack that still does a lot of damage, 130%, right? So that's up to rank 9. That's what I recommend. When it comes to rank 11, I mean, obviously I'm not there yet, but I highly recommend the Fair Duel skill because it just looks really good. It's a single target attack for 180% damage, but before you're attacking, it dispels all debuffs on, Gloria, and it also dispels all the buffs on the target. So there could be stages where the boss is kept on buffing, especially some of the weaponry trials. The boss keeps on buffing itself and has a lot of attack stacks or whatever, defense stacks or whatever, and you can get rid of all of them, right? And there are also bosses that keep debuffing you as well, and you can get rid of all your debuffs as well when using Fair Duel. It is pretty energy heavy because you need 4 energy to cast it, but I think this is the clear winner here in the rank 11 skills. This skill, it's okay, but I think it's better on a different unit. I think Gloria has already so many things to do. It is a good support skill, and it does give a shield that's equal to 20% of HP for union characters, so she can cast it on herself and benefit from the shield. But she already has so many other skills to do, and you have to, like, she does so many things that I don't think also having her do this on top of everything else is good. I think you can have someone. This is a pretty common skill. There's a lot of union members that actually have this skill, and some of them have it all the way at like rank 1 or rank 3. So I would recommend not taking this one. I would recommend taking the rank 11 skill for Gloria. Um, Now, there are some other things I want to talk about. One of the main mechanics about Gloria is about the flag. And I told you that this skill here is how you switch between the lance and the sword mode. So what happens is she starts by having a flag. And when she has a flag, she attacks with that flag, and it's called the lance mode. When she throws the flag down, she picks up her sword, and now she attacks with her sword. So all her skills change into sword skills, right? So what does the flag do? So there's a whole thing about the flag. So actually, let me just go into here to talk about the flag. So when she has the flag, when she's holding the flag, all allies, that doesn't include her, but all the allies within 3 tiles of her get increased attack and defense by 12%. So just holding this flag, when you start the battle, you're already holding the flag. Everyone around you has an extra 12% defense and attack. So that's already a good buff without doing anything. It's like a passive buff. Whenever she throws this flag down, that effect is cancelled because she's no longer holding the flag. But when she throws the flag down, you get a global buff for the entire battlefield that increases the attack and defense by everyone on the field by 15%. Okay? So that is even better than the flag waving aura, right? Right? So it's a global buff. The flag actually decreases itself, I think, by 25% a turn. So after 4 turns, it's automatically destroyed. But yeah, it's a good global buff that lasts for 4 turns. And whenever she throws the flag down, she actually has another skill for herself called Potential Burst. So this skill increases her attack by 20% and defense by 40% for 2 turns. So there might be cases where you are fighting a boss, and the boss is going to do a potentially heavy attack on Gloria. So if you use the skill, if you use the flag throwing skill, this one, and you throw it somewhere, so now she gets 15% extra defense from the flag on the field, and she gets an extra 40% defense from this potential burst as well, right? So you're increasing your defense by like 55% just from that. So it's a really good skill to have. Um, not yeah, it's a really good trait to have. You know, the whole flag mechanics and everything. It provides a lot of buffs for herself and for everyone else on the team, which I think is why she's so very highly valued. She's such a good unit to have, and there were so many recommendations for people to get her. I know a lot of people have her already, and I know more people will be slowly getting her if you didn't already get her. But I think she's a very fantastic unit. Um, yeah, and so I do highly recommend her. I've been using her a lot. She works very well in both the Union and in the Fortitude factions. Um, there's a player called, not a player, a unit called Auguste, I think, who's coming out, who's also the Union, and she pairs very well with him because they're both, Union, and she can buff him. And both of these are very highly rated heroes. Um, So I highly recommend her. Uh, weapon choices. So there are a few really good ones. Um, I picked this spear, but I think it's actually not. I should have picked the staff because I think the staff users are using way more energy than spear users. But anyway, um, I've been using the Silent Guard. It's level 50 now. And one of the reasons I'm using it is because I ended up getting so many copies of it, so it's at 4-star already. But I don't really think it's that useful. Like, if I had to choose again, I would probably pick maybe this one, the double-sided halberd. Yeah, that's probably the one that I would pick, to be honest. And the reason I don't like this Silent Guard much anymore is because, I mean, you just saw the example with the defense, right? Like, when I used counterattack mode, her defense increased by 600, but the damage she takes increased by so little, right? So therefore, I feel like defense is not so great. Attack is actually really good. Attack is great, but defense is not. On the flip side, damage decrease is great, whereas damage increase is not as great. Attack, what you really want is attack and damage decrease. Those are the best two stats to have. So based on that, the Silent Guard is not as good as I would have initially thought. Um, if I had to build out another weapon again, this is the one I would probably pick because it increases her physical attack and she has so many AoE abilities that I think would make use of that. Um, yeah, so that's how I would build her out. I hope this review has kind of helped. Um, I know a lot of people are probably still trying to figure out the best skills. I mean, there's so many different recommendations and skill guides to use. I really liked her and I really wanted to try her out. And I had, a few spare Castilias, so I wanted to experiment with her. She's one of my favorite units and look at different playstyles and things like that. That's the reason why I did what I did. But, since I did it, you don't have to. You can hopefully use my experience and learn from that and build her out in the best way. And I hope she really works out for you. If there's anything I missed in this guide, if there's something I didn't point out, please let me know. Please write it in the comments below. And that's it for this review. So I will see you guys next time. Take care, guys.